The story of how African people were taken into slavery is long, painful, and complex. Here's a clear breakdown of how it happened. 1. The start of the slave trade. In the 1400s, Portuguese explorers began sailing along the West African coast. At first, they traded goods like cloth, guns, and alcohol for gold, ivory, and spices. Over time, they began capturing and buying African people to use as laborers, especially on sugar plantations on islands like São Tomé and later in the Americas. And 2. The transatlantic slave trade. By the 1500s, Spain, Portugal, Britain, France, and the Netherlands were heavily involved in transporting enslaved Africans to the Americas. Africans were captured in wars, raids, or sold by local rulers and traders to Europeans. Sometimes rival African kingdoms would sell prisoners of war to the Europeans in exchange for weapons, textiles, or other goods. 3. The Middle Passage. Once captured, enslaved Africans were taken to coastal forts like Elmina Castle in Ghana or Gorée Island in Senegal. They were forced onto ships for the Middle Passage, the horrific voyage across the Atlantic. Conditions were brutal. People were chained, packed tightly with little air, food, or water. Millions died before reaching the Americas. 4. Life in the Americas. Survivors were sold at slave markets in the Caribbean, North America, and South America. They were forced to work on plantations, sugar, cotton, tobacco, rice, or in mines, often under extreme cruelty. Families were separated, languages and cultures suppressed, but Africans still carried their traditions, music, and spirit of resistance with them. 5. Scale of the trade. Historians estimate that 12 to 15 million Africans were shipped across the Atlantic between the 1500s and 1800s. Even more died during raids, marches to the coast, or on the ships. In short, Africans were taken through a system of capture, trade, and forced transport run by European powers, with some involvement of local rulers and traders, and enslaved in the Americas for centuries.